We recommend listening to the CW Pod with a glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon. Grown, distilled, well-rested, and bottled in Erling, Iowa. Now from the Channel Seed Studios, this is the CW Pod, fueled by Steeple Ridge.
Hello, welcome to CW Pod here on Iowa Everywhere, recording this on the 15th of October, 2024. My name is Chris Williams. I'm joined today by Randy Peterson. I'll get to him in 1 minute. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, of course, those are our friends over at the Lonely Oak Distillery in Erling, Iowa. As our friend still likes to say, I'm keeping that just to piss Chris Assel off. He's going to listen to this and he's going to text me about it. It's going to be great. I do want to, it is that time. This is truly getting into whiskey drinking season, in my opinion. I love sipping on a little bourbon on these brisk type of fall nights. And I want you guys to check out my friends at Steeple Ridge if you haven't tried them already. And if you go into a liquor store throughout the entire Midwest, and if you don't see it, you can request it. That's the most important thing you can do to help our friends over at Steeple Ridge continue to grow. They make an amazing bourbon. And if you're brand new to bourbon, I would recommend the white label. That's what I started on. Now I really enjoy the black label. It's a little step up. It's really, really, really good. You can learn more at lonelyoakdistillery.com. You can also do a really cool thing. We did this last year with Iowa Everywhere, where they could make custom corporate holiday gifts for your business. You can give them out to clients, do all that stuff, employees. It's really good stuff too. It's like a single barrel, so it's really good quality whiskey. Check them out at lonelyoakdistillery.com. Remember, if you don't see it, request it at grocery stores and liquor stores across the Midwest. Randy Peterson joins me today as we're going to talk about Iowa State's 6-0 start to the season, and really a historic time at Iowa State, being the AP Top 25 just came out in men's basketball on Monday. We thought Iowa State would be in the top 5. They did make it. They are 5th in the preseason poll. 3 Big 12 teams in the top 5, 5 Big 12 teams in the top 10. At the time of us recording this, we have not seen a women's poll. I am anticipating the Iowa State women will also be in the top 10. Same with Iowa State wrestling. So, first of all, Pete, before we get into all that, how are you? How's retirement going there? And if you're watching on the YouTube, we're having problems with Randy's camera, so Randy's going to chat with me today, which is okay. How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm just trying to figure this camera thing out. I don't know what's going on.
It's all right. People just want to hear your voice anyways. Right? We don't need to look at you. I mean,
I'm just going to take this laptop out after the show and throw it in the lake.
How's Okoboji? Like, what is it? Because my folks are down at the Lake of the Ozarks half the time, and it's like a whole different world down there. It's just there's like 10 people who just live there year round, and they know everybody, and it's like all the servers at the restaurants know them by name. What's Okoboji like this time of year? Is it like that?
Yeah, I will say that all the servers know each other, know us. But there's quite a few people up here. If you count, because I'm in Spirit Lake, and
oh, okay.
So I mean, in Spirit Lake is Okoboji is, or how do I want to say this? Okoboji is part of Spirit Lake. I mean, I'm looking out my window right now, and there's East Okoboji. But there's quite a few people up here, but certainly not as many as there were during the season. And there's, the bars are still relatively crowded. The restaurants are still relatively crowded. Some are closed. I'd say about half are closed. Yeah. So it's all good.
Are you how locked in are you to Iowa State? You're of course writing columns a couple times a week for us at Iowa Everywhere. You can read Randy's work at iowaeverywhere.com on Mondays and Thursdays. But how engaged have you been? Because this has been hell of a 6-game stretch here for Iowa State, and I feel like it's just going to get more interesting by the week.
Yeah, I'm as engaged as I was, except I just don't go to press conferences or games. I've been to a couple press conferences.
Well, Matt doesn't say anything in press conferences.
Exactly.
Anyways. You're not missing anything.
And I'm listening, watching the web thing during the press conferences. So it's I'm locked in. Hoodger and I text quite a bit. Mauser and I text very often. And Campbell gets back to me every so while. I'm staying away from him now. I mean, obviously, because I know he's all wacky right now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they got to be. He wants they could be 7-0 going into the second bye weekend. So it's historic, man.
Yeah. Well, what the big picture for me, and we'll of course get back into football, but it's this whole athletic department story, and I would need to lean on you. I did a small amount of research last night, and I would not rely on this to print it or anything like that. But I can't recall a time in this state where any team, any athletic department has 4 top 10 teams like that. Now, maybe if you would go into the real Olympic sports and dig deep, there could be a time. But do you remember this? Because I feel like this is just really, really, really rare. Not only at Iowa State, but for the history of our state in general, because I guarantee the Iowa State women are top 10, and I know wrestling will be. I mean, they're going to have their top 4 sports all, at that elite level.
Yeah, I would say that this is – I'm just go out there and say it. This is the first time that the 4 major sports, like you said, the most visible, have been in the top 10 at the same time, or could be in the top 5 at the same time. Yes, I would say that, but I don't follow the track ratings or the cross country ratings.
That's where it
and
gets
things
a
like
hairy.
that, soccer ratings. But I don't follow that stuff, so I don't really know. But the most visible sport, the sports that people are talking about when you go to a bar.
Yeah, because I was thinking back to even Iowa's the best times over there. And to have them all at once, so wrestling would be up there. And I was going back to the Vivian Stringer years, but those Fry teams were really up in the top 10 at all. And mostly those Tom Davis teams that were really good, they didn't get up into that level. It was more like top 25 type stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying to rack my brain historically, and it seems really, really special. And I don't think it's. We'll go back to football here. I talked about this on my show with Brent Bloom on Cyclone Fanatic. Would have been Sunday night. I also on my post-game show too, and I want to bounce it off of you because you were right there beside me during the Rhodes era and for most of the McCarney era. You did bounce back and forth covering Iowa some during that time, but it always felt like to me, in the past when Iowa State has had football success or relative football success or whatever we're defining it as, I think success at Iowa State in the past has been 7-5. That's very successful when you look at the history of the program. But I always felt like, not that it was fluky, that is not the right word. Let's even go back to Campbell's 2017 season, which is one of the most memorable Iowa State football seasons ever when you factor in the upset of Oklahoma, the big win against TCU, which is one of my favorite games in Jack Trice Stadium history. Just everything. It felt like you were kind of playing on a house of cards, just a little bit, just because they didn't have the foundation yet, right? They hadn't been there for 10 years like they have now. It didn't ever feel like, I didn't have a ton of faith in Kyle Kempt and his arm. The offensive line was just average at the time. You had really good skill guys, but not as many as you do now. I go back to the Rhodes era, and it's you felt like that thing, there were a lot of onside kicks, a lot of gimmicky stuff. He certainly built a nice program and grew Iowa State football. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I never felt like it was overwhelmingly sustainable the way that they were doing it. Although after that Oklahoma State upset, I probably did at the time. Looking back now, knowing, with a little more experience, it certainly felt like a bit of a reach. In the McCarney era, really, like, if we're being honest, and he was just building the whole thing out of nothing at the time, but it was schedule dictated, right? When they were playing the schedule that didn't have Texas and Oklahoma, they'd probably win 7 games and go to a bowl game. And it's just kind of how it went during the McCarney years. But this just feels so different to me. Like, not only are they 6-0, but by the most part, they're dominating people just physically, right? And I mean, I'm not predicting they go undefeated. That I think it'll be really hard for any Big 12 team to do that in this league. But I don't know. It just seems very, very sustainable, and I don't feel any sort of flukishness to anything that they are doing right now. They're just lining up and beating people handily.
They are dominating people.
Yeah,
they're dominating people, like you said. And I was looking at it this morning. One of the things that's sticking out to me, even more so than the linebackers, is how many years have we criticized the offensive line? How many years have we been saying, isn't it about time for the offensive line to improve?
It was the weak spot
consistently. Yeah. And they haven't. And all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, it's been a process. But in the second year of Clanton as the offensive line coach, this is the best offensive line Iowa State has had in a long time. Bruns would know that more than I. But this offensive line is good, and they've got players that they can plug in, players on the not starting who have starting, and the running game is pretty darn good. It's interesting to me, somewhat in this respect, and it's kind of what I'm writing or what I'm thinking about writing for Thursday or Friday later in the week. But this Iowa State football team is so unpredictable. Chris, you're old enough to remember the days where we could predict the offense. We absolutely know what plays were coming in certain down and distances. I guarantee you we don't know that now. I mean, just go back to the first 2 plays of the game, 54-yard pass and 21-yard pass. We can't do that anymore.
The option call, my audience is probably sick of it, but I was just like, holy shit. Like, that was an amazing play call the other night. I haven't seen it. When's the last time you saw Iowa State run an option? Honestly, like,
not intentionally, at least.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking about that. Maybe there's been one, sprinkled in somewhere, but it's 4th and 2, you got a 6-7 tight end. You probably just could have dumped it off to like what first of all, that came after a 3rd and 3 power run play call to Rocco Beck. They're lining up 5 wide, 3 tight ends, option. It's been a joy to watch Mauser call these plays, and I just think that I don't know if he's the best offensive coordinator because he's only done it for 6 games. So that would be overreact. And he has really good players. It's easy to call good plays when you have really good players, right? We can agree there.
Yeah.
But this is the most creative Iowa State offense I've ever seen. Do you agree with that?
Oh, without question. And I don't know whether that's Mauser, whether that's Campbell. It's whether it's Campbell allowing Mauser to call some of those plays and some of those plays to actually happen, because as we all know, Campbell's got the last word. I mean, it stops with him. And he's got his headset on and he's constantly talking to the coaches in the press box. So I'm assuming it's Campbell is giving maybe not free reign, but giving more reign to Mauser than he has in the past. And as you mentioned, probably because he's got great players. I mean, you've got a quarterback who's and I've written this multiple times, most underappreciated quarterback in the Big 12. You've got two receivers that's the best receiving tandem in the Big 12. You've got a tight end you're not essentially using as much anymore, which I can't quite figure that one out. But
kind of makes me feel like that they're not even hitting full stride, though. I mean, when you factor the Bramer thing. Yeah.
And you've got running backs who, as unpredictable as I said that the offense has been, I defy you to correctly pick who's going to be the best running back, the top yard gaining running back on Saturday. It's been somebody different every week. I mean, they've all got their specialties that they do. I think it's about time for Sama to break out, but Central Florida also is good against the rush. So maybe a passing game. I don't know, but yeah, this offense is much more creative. I noticed the option also, and I don't think the TV made references to it. I didn't think the TV broadcasters were on their A game, but that's another.
I went crazy when they ran that option, and I'm a Southwest Iowa kid who watched Nebraska growing up. So,
oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I love. You're the same. Like I just love creative offense. I'm a Leach guy, right? Like the thing is though, Leach.
Yeah, you got that
offense. Leach's offense actually wasn't even that creative, is what the crazy thing is. But nonetheless, that's been fun. And then the Haycock thing, it's like, and you've written about this for us, but this might be one of his best jobs yet, just because of the second level and all the injuries that they've sustained. They've been really fortunate too, Randy. I don't think any of us have talked about this enough, that in recent years, knock on wood, that secondary has been really banged up, like to the point where you never knew. It's like you didn't feel like you could get 3 games in a row with Verdone and Cooper in the lineup together because they got hurt. They've been really fortunate to keep that group intact while they've been going through these linebacker changes. But I just thought, that matchup against West Virginia and that running attack and Garrett Green, who is one of the best running quarterbacks in college football. He didn't even have that good of a game, and he had like 87 yards. Like, that was a bad matchup to have linebackers out. And then in the first quarter, two guys go down. Now, Cooper Ebel came back, and so did Jacob Ellis later on. Didn't play that much. But when you factor in, you had a true freshman in Bo Goodwin. You had this walk-on who people didn't even know of 3 weeks ago, Rylan Barnes. On top of that, you'd already lost Caleb Bacon, Carson Willich, Will McLaughlin. And then Cale Brazina, the guy who's kind of been the star, he is out. He played a couple of snaps in that game, and Jack Sadowski's hasn't really been a factor. So it's like the coaching job that they have done defensively with that second level, it's kind of you go into the game thinking don't screw it up, but then you leave the game and it's like, wow, they played really well. Like it's really incredible to see how they've coached that group up over the last few weeks.
Yeah, and the linebackers, they're being coached by a first-year linebackers coach at Iowa State,
Coach
for
Pratt,
example.
Yep.
Yeah, so I marvel at anything John Haycock does. I mean, I sat in his office, was it last summer, 2 summers ago? I don't remember when it was for sure. Just him and I for at least an hour and a half maybe. And we really didn't talk about football. We talked about how he used to be a stable boy when he grew up, how he groomed horses, how he walked horses, how he even sometimes raced. What do you call those things? The horse and buggy, the carry, whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that about him. That's cool. I knew he was a big NASCAR fan back in the day. Me and him always talk NASCAR together. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, he got into
But-
it for about 10 years, just like everybody else, and then he dumped it, just like everybody else did.
Jeez.
Yeah, I didn't know his horse background. That's
No, his
interesting.
horse background too. Yeah, it's and his brother, I believe it is, owns a marina someplace at a lake in Ohio. So we talk boating all the time, and yeah, it's he's quite varied in his background, and I just love this, like as you do, and sit and talk to these guys about anything and everything except football. That's when you really get to know these people.
The Haycock thing too, and we are in the Channel Seed studios. Randy Peterson is my guest today. When you sit and you have those conversations with Haycock, which we've both been blessed to do, because he's a really good guy. I mean, he's I've said this a lot. He's top 5 Iowa State people of all time for me. Me personally is just like human beings. But you really could grasp with that guy why he's still there. Right, like, because we've all met assistants where you just know they're literally like acting like an independent contractor to get the hell out of there as soon as they can to get more money or a more high prestige job. Like you talk to John for about 30 minutes just about life, and it's pretty evident that he's not a guy who's just chasing, prestige or money or anything like that. Like that, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. He's and I don't know what it is about defensive coordinators, but I mean, look at Phil Parker in Iowa City, also, for example. Those we're blessed in this state with 2 of the best defensive minds in the country. But as far as Haycock, he had a chance to go to Notre Dame. I think he even went out there, but I talked to him about that, and it was one of his coaching buddies, younger guys, obviously, who got Freeman, who got the head coaching job at Notre Dame. And if you're a young head coach, somewhat young head coach, and you're looking to start a staff, and you know John Haycock, they've worked with him before, you better believe you're going to go ask John Haycock if he's interested. And Haycock went out there, I do believe, but he wasn't interested. So, and he stayed at Iowa State. So, and obviously he's not going anywhere for the rest of his career. So that Ed Campbell, I don't know whether Campbell lucked into getting him, such a loyal guy like that, but John's been that. He's been everything that Matt Campbell would ever want, not only as a coach, but also a mentor. And that was important for a young up and coming coach 9, 10, 11 years ago, however many years ago it was, that their relationship started. And because Haycock has seen it all. There's nothing up there he's not seen. He's been a head coach. He's been a coach every position at every level. So that's been a wonderful relationship for the 2 of them.
He's just been the kind of the calming force too.
Yeah.
Because not that their offense, here's the thing, like I actually think their offense has gotten a little bit of a bad rap in 9 years because they've been really good when you factor in like the history of Iowa State football, right? It just hasn't been as good as the defense. And, they've gone through a handful of coordinators, and John's just always just been there, and it was just solid, like where, I believe Matt sees it from a CEO standpoint as like he could always just trust that the defense was handled because of Haycock, while Matt, they had to maneuver. Manning's been in and out a couple times. It's like you finally think you got one in Shieldhouse, and then he goes to the NFL. No one could blame him. And, I don't think you can talk about the Matt Campbell era, and this is not to take anything away from Matt, because he's been, created the culture to keep guys who want to stay there. But I don't think you can talk about the Campbell era. If let's say like in 15 years they build a statue of Matt Campbell or whatever, it's like there better be a plaque with John Haycock next to it. You know what I mean? Because he's just been that big of a part of this.
I, yeah, I don't know what to add to that. Yeah, it's this is Iowa State's going to continue to have its best season ever. I fully predict that. And when you said that it's a long shot for Iowa State to go unbeaten, sure, it's a long shot, but it's damn possible.
Well,
So that John Haycock will go down in history as best defensive coordinator Iowa State's ever had, without question. And the fact that him and Matt Campbell have been together, there was a sideline shot on TV a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after the Baylor game, just towards the end of the Baylor game. I mean, they hugged. I mean, it was almost like that was incredible. And the TV cameras caught it. That was an incredible moment for me because I knew exactly what they were thinking. I knew exactly what it was. That was a turning point for Matt Campbell, for Iowa State, for the program. It was that to me just showed right there that these guys have this special bond, and it certainly has been showing.
No doubt. Yeah, it's a cool deal. Last point on this is I think Matt deserves a lot of credit for this year in particular. So he did make some coaching changes right after the 4-8 season. You know, probably haven't talked about their strength and conditioning department enough, to be honest. Ben Bruns and Aiden they covered that on Cycle and Sunday this week. Go and listen to what Bruns had to say about it, which is really spot on. But you know, when your offensive coordinator leaves to the NFL, you know, the sexy thing is to go outside and get a big name guy. And really the smart thing for most organizations, you know, like this is stupid to compare what I do to, but like I'm always more comfortable just hiring interns who we've had because they know how everything works around here. And right, like there's this comfort. I would rather do that than bring some guy in or gal in from California who has no familiarity with Iowa State or whatever. So I get it. Matt goes with Mauser, who most people are like, he's just been a tight ends coach. He's 34 years old. That's what he's not ready to be a coordinator. But the experience he has in the program, the knowledge he has with Rocco Beck, the relationships he has with all of those guys, the sweat and blood he's put into the program. Matt deserves a lot of credit for bringing a guy like Cratch back, right? Like at linebackers coach, for bringing a guy like Deion Broomfield back, who knows Iowa State. Like a lot of these hires, you know, Noah Pauley, the wide receivers coach, like you look at a lot of these hires and on the surface, they weren't all a big splash. Like when Ryan Clanton came from UNI to be the offensive line coach, they weren't all a big splash, but damn, he's done a good job of, again, not making the sexy hire every time, but making the smart one that works for him in that program.
Don't forget Eli Rashid, and I know you were just talking about the most recent.
Well, Eli Rashid's kind of right there, like
with Haycock. Yeah,
absolutely.
But the Mauser hire, yeah. I mean, I remember when Iowa State was allegedly searching for a coordinator. I mean, there were stories out there that there was some quarterback coach from some school in town. There are various quarterback coaches from other schools were in town, and that they were going to get the job, and they were on campus. They were seen walking around the office. And I bet all along that Campbell, and I've not talked to him about this, but I bet all along Campbell was, okay, Mauser's my guy. Okay, he's the guy that I'm holding up here right now. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to look at other people. They've got to be damn better than I think Mauser can be, taking into consideration that Mauser knows Matt Campbell as good as as well as anybody, because they've been around each other for almost ever. And yeah, it worked. And like you said, and like we've said, Mauser fell into a situation, and that probably wasn't put right, but that included star offensive players. I mean, everybody but two offensive starters returning from a year ago, 2 or 3, whatever it is. So it was a good situation also. And Mauser and Becht have this special relationship also. I mean, I'll bet it's not long before I could see Rocco calling his own plays as a junior and senior. I really can see that.
Well, I hope he is as creative as Mauser is. I'm halfway kidding. Did you see Mauser's deal with me? I did a podcast with him over the summer for Cyclone Fanatic, and he gave I commentated that this won't last long because it was the most authentic quote ever. And the more these guys talk, the less the more that wears on them. But he was like, basically like, well, we know everybody here is good, so if the offense sucks, it's on me. It was the most authentic, awesome quote. And I was like, and I told him, I go, don't ever change. Keep that up, buddy. We want those. We want more quotes.
And he had. I mean, he's in the press.
He's been awesome.
He sits in the press box and wears the Rocco Becht hat.
Yeah, which is so cool.
I've got the
so cool
Rocco Becht sweatshirt on right now. My black sweatshirt with the red engraved RP. Yeah.
Nice.
I was hoping you could see it. But.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, well, we'll get Randy's camera fixed for the next time.
Yeah,
Some sort.
But it's that's Mauser. The only thing he didn't have up there in the press box when you see that is his hat not worn backwards, and it may have been had the RB been on the back of the hat. So Mauser's one of them. I mean, it's just a great relationship he's got with Campbell and the players.
Let's look at the rest of the year. You know, when I said it's a long shot to go undefeated, I mean it more just. Well, I'll stake the claim now. Watching as much Big 12 football as we both do, I think we can both agree Iowa State is the most complete football team in that league. If anyone is going to go undefeated, it would probably be them. I think we can all kind of agree with that. My whole point is just I mean, it's just a weird league on a week to week. You don't really know what's going to happen because the difference in a lot of these teams, like the talent level at the top of the Big Ten to the bottom of the Big Ten, is drastic, right? Like try comparing Northwestern to Ohio State or whoever. It's not so much when the Big 12 because you look at Arizona State, pick last. What are they? 3-1. BYU picked 13th. They're ranked 13th in the country right now. But you know, I would project right now, and I'm going to pull this all together for Chris and Chris on Thursday. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do this tonight because I'm doing my own little loose power ratings now. And I would project right now, Randy, Iowa State's favored in every game the rest of the year. The Utah game, I would have about a pick 'em, I think, right now. And again, I'll have the final numbers for you guys on Thursday. But I don't know. Like, Utah's so hard to power rate because of the Cam Rising situation. I do know that that's a brutal place for anybody to go in and play, like especially when you have to go west, like Iowa State's going to have to do. But I mean, what is the safe play saying that they go 11-1 at this point? Is the safe play saying 10-2? I don't even know, but I think they're better than 10-2 when I look at this schedule. I think they're a 3 to 4 point favorite at home against Kansas State today. I think Utah's around to pick them, and I think they're damn near a touchdown favorite in every other game the rest of the year. What do you think?
Oh, without question, and I certainly can see 12-0. Given the team that Iowa State's putting on the field right now.
And we both think the offense will keep getting better too.
Right. Yeah. And all this is contingent on injuries, of course.
No doubt.
But clearly Iowa State has a break and they play BYU, or maybe BYU has a break and it doesn't play Iowa State. I don't know until the conference championship game. But Iowa State won last year at BYU, and I don't know how tough it is to play at Utah. I don't have any idea. I've seen the stadium. Heinz and I drove by it a year ago when we stayed in Salt Lake when we went to BYU, and yeah. So I mean, I've seen the stadium, but football stadium's a football stadium. Certainly, Kansas. Iowa State would beat Kansas. I would not be surprised if Iowa State smoked Kansas.
Yeah,
one of the two most underachieving teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma State being the other one. How about Gundy? He got headed butted by one of his own deer, or when I went steers the other day, or something like that.
Yeah, that whole deal's weird. Like it feels like there and at Kansas that maybe they've got culture problems because the talent that both of those programs have is not matching the output.
Well, and then Kansas has that new stadium coming too.
Yeah,
now you're going to have to sell that. And Kansas State, they're coming back. They're back. I mean, I think
that if Iowa State's number one, I would definitely put Kansas State number two.
Yes,
that was a good win at Colorado, and that quarterback is all over the place. But damn, he's talented, right? Like, I mean, if he has a good game against you, he's really freaking good.
I agree. And Kansas State next 3 games are against West Virginia, Kansas, and Houston. Give me a break. So,
yeah, I mean, if you need them to lose, you better hope that West Virginia gets them because they're not losing again until they come to Ames.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Iowa State doesn't play Colorado. You never know how that team's going to be, but or Arizona State for that matter. So Iowa State. I don't want to say
Texas Tech's the one,
break,
Randy. Texas Tech's the game to circle because look at their schedule. They're Texas Tech, when they come to Iowa State, that'll be 2 undefeated Big 12 teams. They're going to be 5-0 because they have like Baylor and TCU.
Baylor and TCU are next. Yes.
Yeah, that's the game that if Iowa State wins on Saturday night, that could be like definitely a top 10 team. I don't think Iowa State will be in the top 5. That'll be like a 7 or 8 ranked Cyclones against a top 20 Texas Tech team. That could be like your big noon kickoff type game. I don't know what else is that week, but that's the game I have circled right now. That'll be a huge one. Homecoming in Ames. Yeah,
and hopefully it's not one of those midnight games. Do we know what time? We don't know what time that game starts yet.
No, we'll find out next week. Yeah, next Monday.
But it's and I remember saying or writing or something, maybe both, that I wasn't impressed with Texas Tech. 3 weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, I just said, no way Texas Tech's going to be
They sucked the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this whole conference, like it's top to bottom, it's good. I mean, it's nothing basketball good, which we'll get to, but I don't think anything is. Maybe the NBA, but I think clearly this is Iowa State, BYU, or K-State. I mean, Texas Tech is going to mess up someplace. I mean, at Iowa State, for example.
Well, they don't play defense is the problem.
No, exactly, and they still play Colorado. And West Virginia on the end, that guy could be fighting for his job. Did you see Neil Brown Monday? What he said, or after?
No, I didn't see anything from Monday.
He's begging for fans. He's begging the fans to stick with the program. What's that a sign of? That's not
man.
Good.
I was doing some stuff with Greg McDermott over the summer, and he kind of told me, he's like, once the fans turn against you, they almost work against you in his experience, and that it just feels like once you've got that hot seat moniker, it's really hard to kick that. And I would argue that Neil Brown, like, they were going to fire him, and then he has this good year last year out of nowhere, and they've been fine. Like, they're not great this year, but they had like these aspirations of going like 9-3. Like, come on, like sometimes, like, I don't know what. I guess I would ask a West Virginia fan, like, what is acceptable? But, like, I mean, I think anyone on the outside would have said you're bonkers if like the worst case for you is to go 9-3 this year. Like that's insane to me. Like I don't know. I thought Brown's done a good job of turning that thing around. That could have
was it last year?
He was fired going into last year.
At
Remember?
Big 12 Media Days, he got up there and says, "I guarantee you, we're going to be better than you guys picked this."
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, he was just shitting all over the media.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's not good when you're on the hot seat.
Well, that's what I felt with Baylor this year, and all these Baylor fans. Like, hell, I was getting like damn near death threats from these people. But if you got to wear T-shirts that say "We pay players" in 2024, like that reeks of desperation.
Like, it does.
Honestly, I was kind of high on Baylor going into the year, and then I saw that, and Aiden we did a show on here, and I said, I'm out on them. I'm selling Baylor right now. You don't do that if you're confident. And you don't go and beg fans to come to your game if you're confident. Like, I don't know. Like, God, these coaches, they just need to hire us to be their PR people, Randy.
I know. Or they need to, yeah, I could do that. But
but you agree on Aranda, though? Like, what are you guys doing?
Heck yes. I've never been impressed with Aranda. Yeah, okay. He had a couple good seasons. Okay. But, man, I don't get the love for him, and then his whole concept of building a roster that he's changing now. I mean, where he would not go to the portal, wouldn't even look at the portal, refused to even acknowledge it existed. I mean, that's ridiculous. You're losing right there, obviously, because I mean that's where it's going. I mean, sometimes during mid-season players leave, which is a whole another topic. But
it's happening everywhere now.
Yeah, exactly. I've never been impressed with Aranda, at least as a coach. Now, as a defensive coach, yeah, maybe, but certainly not as a head coach.
Couple other things. Just want to hit on a few basketball things. I just got it published first thing this morning. Your column on Emily Ryan, who. I love Emily. Been around that program a lot over the years, calling their games, and she might be my favorite Cyclone of all time. I was glad you wrote that column on what she has gone through. She came out last week for those people who have not seen this and talked about an eating disorder that she has been struggling with for years now. She's been getting treatment, and she's going to come out stronger on the other side. But it's funny. Having two daughters, Randy, you know this with your children, that you really watch out and you kind of like cringe sometimes at the people they look up to, because you're like, I don't even know that person. One of my 9-year-old's heroes is Emily Ryan because of what she does on the basketball court. But it's like, yes, that's a good one. You can look up to her all you want. And
she's a good kid.
Yeah. I mean, she's one of the all-time greats as far as people and basketball players goes there. And good job on you to write that column.
Well, she needs. I've written it a few times now. She needs to have a banner up in the rafters at Hilton. There's no question. She's been the glue that kept this program together. When the defectors were going through their "I'm better than Iowa State," and obviously they weren't. It's their loss. Emily held this outfit together. She was out helping recruit Audie Crooks, for example. Yeah, I mean, she's been a mentor to these kids. It's been fun to watch, and it's a cool family. It's just fun, and she'll be a coach. I mean, somebody someday will be calling her Coach Ryan or whatever, whatever her last name becomes. But yeah, she'll be a Coach Emily. Somebody will be calling her a coach somewhere down the road. I guarantee that.
Maybe at Iowa State. Who knows?
Oh, sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The other topic was the Big 12 poll, or not the Big 12 poll, but the AP Top 25 came out yesterday. Iowa State is number 5. Interesting that you're picked 3rd in your own conference and 5th nationally. That's just hard to even fathom. But it just shows you how brutal this league is going to be. I will be the old curmudgeon right now, and I will bitch about the conference size. I hate I hate it.
That's ridiculous.
I love the old Big 12 round robin. It'll never be like that again. I know, but man, it was a good time.
Well, and look what they're trying to do now. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC having their scheduling arrangement. They're trying to figure out a non-conference scheduling arrangement, and it's just ridiculous what college sports is going to right now. And it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. It also does, though, on a positive note, we'll end it here. There are some damn cool matchups in this new Big 12 basketball, though. You know,
well, yeah, there's a bunch
if I want to be positive here for a minute, it's just like the Iowa State fans get to do the doubleheader in Arizona if they want to pull that off. That'll be a tough ticket to get. I promise you that Monday night in Tucson, there will be a ton of Iowa State fans at that game. I don't know. Like this is also one of those years I think that kind of sets up in a tough way if you're Otzelberger. Not that you don't have a good team. It's just the expectations are so high where I mean, I could see them being a better team and having a worse record at the end of the year because of the competition. I mean, you're playing in Maui. Who knows how that's going to go?
Yeah, Auburn and North Carolina waiting for you. Yeah.
Like you could go 1-2 out there and play really good basketball and the fans are just pissed off at you.
And then come back and play Marquette.
Yeah. Yeah. This will be an interesting ride for that basketball program, but I would caution fans. It's just like, hey, it's not always about the win-loss as far as the regular season goes with this team. It's more about just setting yourself up for that seeding in March. Because with those guards, I mean, for real, like this team could clearly win a national championship with the guys that it has up there. And really, it's going to come down to, you know, Momcilovic, the step that he's taken. Can he be that killer for you on the wing? And then these new big guys. And we don't really know because we haven't seen them, although does feel like they like this Deshaun Jackson a whole heck of a lot. And, Nate Heisey, the UNI transfer, I think he's going to play more than most fans think. And then the other guy is Brant Chatfield, the 7-footer from Washington State. It sounds like they're really high on him. So, I just think that.
Let's not forget JT Rock.
The Rock. From up there in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Up there towards the Okoboji. Yeah, the Rock.
He's up in Sioux Falls, yeah. Don't forget the Rock.
I don't know, like, but don't you agree though? Like this sets up for fans to just be a little bit like I hope they can just have the mindset of how good the league is, because there's just no way that anybody's gonna be, fewer than 4 losses, I would think, in this league. Throughout the regular season.
No, and think of the Big 12 tournament also. Look, way down to that. And I don't really know how important the Big 12 tournament is in a conference like this, where you've got your rating, you've got your analytics, you've built them up during the first 30 or however many games you play before you get to the conference tournament. You've got them built up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. It's more for,
win a game in the conference tournament and then boom. Relax.
I could make an argument that most teams are better off doing that if you're really good. Now, it hasn't proven that way for Iowa State every year. I mean, last year they clearly made a run after winning the Big 12 tournament. But now that these things are longer, and it'll be fun. We got to get you down to Hilton, cover some games with me. It's been fun catching up with you. Give me a
game that doesn't start at 8:00 at night, or a football game that doesn't start in the middle of the night.
These football night games, and you'd be so proud of me, Randy. I'm the old guy now. Like I'm the old guy in our beat now that everybody just like rolls their eyes at me because I'm bitching about night games. I'm bitching about this. I'm bitching about that. But it's just there's too many night games. Hassel says it on our show all the time. They've gone overboard with the TV thing, and whatever. Like it is what it is. It just they're not special anymore.
No, exactly. I mean, what's Iowa State's? This is Iowa State's 4th in a row.
Yeah,
coming up, something like that. No, they're not. They're not special. And you can try to jizz it all up. I mean, like Iowa State did last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever. Yeah, 2 weeks ago with the whiteout that looked cool. But
the old whiteout.
I wasn't impressed with West Virginia's blackout or whatever you want to call it. I was not impressed with that.
Yeah, that was tough.
And it's going to be tougher and tougher to do one of those color coded games because
you can't do it when they're all wearing winter coats. They're not going to go play whatever. It is what it is. It's just God. Like I'm you know how it is for guys like us. We're in bed at 4:00 in the morning when that happens. But whatever, fans don't care. It's all
they
good.
don't care.
I don't think the fans like them as much as they used to either, though. That's the thing. Like people roll their eyes now because it's like, God damn it, another one.
After a while, yes, exactly.
Think about these Pac-12 people. Like that's all they get.
That's ridiculous too. I mean, but oh well.
All right, Pete. We'll catch up with you here in a couple weeks.
All right. Good? Sorry about the
you're fine. We don't.
Snafu.
We got this cool picture that we're looking at of you anyway. So
what am I doing?
You're wearing. Aiden, did you put up the one with him in the boat? Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be wearing his floaties for this one.
Yeah, he's wearing it. You're wearing your floaties. I believe Hines gave
there's a story
floaties.
behind that.
Yeah, tell us the story behind this picture.
Travis Hines, who we all know and love, as a going away present.
I'm kidding. I love Hines.
I know. As a going away present from the register, he bought me floaties because he knows that I'm afraid of the water. I can't swim, and I live on a lake. I took those. My daughters told me, they said, you need to wear these. You needed to wear these, and they said they take a picture and send it to Travis.
It's so just like
I don't wear the floaties when I walk around my house.
It's like a guy who hates heat moving to Arizona.
Yeah,
I'm gonna retire near the water. Terrified of it.
Yeah, I don't fish. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
You just sit out on your deck and drink Bud Light. I love it. Yeah. All right. Get some of that Ames Lager. They're brewing it right across the street from.
I know they're right up the street at Westo. I know.
Yeah. They do good stuff up there. I like those guys at Westo. They do good stuff. All right. He's Randy Peterson. Thanks so much to Steeple Ridge Bourbon, Lonely Oak Distillery for sponsoring CW Pod. Go out and buy yourself a bottle for the autumn, the cold that is coming. LonelyOakDistillery.com. Aiden Wyatt produced today's show. My name is Chris Williams. We'll be back next week with CW Pod here on Iowa Everywhere.